2 sheets of watercolour paper, because on one sheet we're going to do our beautiful rose. We're going to do that later. And this is our warm-up practice, let rip and let's splash it about page. So I think today, what we're going to do, and we're going to do some studies like this, and I intentionally didn't send you this because what we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to practice and warm up with these little fruit studies, but we are not going to analyze them too closely, because I think what a lot of us, and I include myself in this, is we tend to obsess about the detail. Yeah. And we get bogged down in the reference, and that's not clever. That's not good. So I intentionally didn't send you this because this is the only reference you're going to have. You're going to have to look at it on my screen through my camera, and you're not going to be able to get in close and dirty. You're going to have to look at it from a distance. So we're just looking at basic shapes, and we are looking at color. Okay, so grab yourselves a pencil. Any pencil, it's not important. This today, I think I told a couple of you, it's about really loosening up, because what I've seen is a lot of people drawing with their paint. They're not utilizing the full potential of water in watercolor. So we're going to start to put a lot more water on our paintings from now on. And this is what today's class is going to be all about. It's all about using far more water than we have been doing and utilizing the true potential of watercolor, because it comes alive when it starts to look liquid and it starts to look wet. So grab a pencil, and to start off with, let's kick off with this. Let's try this mango, shall we? You can all see that mango, can't you? Okay, that's all we're really looking at. And what we're going to do, we're going to do a contour drawing of this. And by a contour drawing, I mean, we're not going to bother with any value or any shading. We're just going to do an outline. And the way to do that is to put your pencil down on the paper and leave it there. Don't keep picking it up. Don't do chicken steps, scratchy dashed lines like that. We're just going to draw this with one single line. And we're going to start off. Put your pencil down on the paper. Let's start off about here at the top, and use your eye and trace round slowly the contour, the outside edge of this mango. It doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfectly accurate, but what we're doing, don't take your pencil off the paper. We're just doing a nice, simple, couldn't be simpler, could it, this shape? Just one simple line describing the outside of this mango. And you'll probably end up with a wobbly egg shape like that, which is absolutely fine. And let's get that little stalk in there, which is, again, one simple line, a little tube, a little cylinder on the end, like so. I'm going to mute everybody because there's a mad hound on the loose somewhere. If you want to chirp in with any questions, just unmute yourself and ask me, okay? Right, you're gone. Okay, pencils down. Pick up the brush. What I want to impress on you today is the use of, oh, and another thing as well. I always activate my paints with a spray of water to start off with. We're going to start using far more luscious liquid paints. I've got a little spritzer spray thing here. And before I start, I always spray my paints. Give them a good old dousing and let them ideally sit there for 10 minutes, because that water soaks into your pigments and they come alive. If you don't do that, you're going to have to scrub at your paints to get the pigments moving. So what have we got here? We've got a beautiful yellow. We've got a lovely reddish orange that goes very deep and rusty down here, and we've got little blushes of green around the edge. So let's get those three colors standing by. Get that yellow, a really nice cadmium yellow. So look, that's already gloopy, it's already sticky, it's already rich and unctuous. It's beautiful. So I'm going to get myself a very, very potent mix of cadmium yellow there. I'm not making a big puddle. I'm not making a big puddle of coloured water. That is strong pigment. Right. Bit of kitchen roll. Clean my brush. Let's get that red in. It's a really nice ruby red. Bit of that. Already juicy. And a big old blob of strong colour. Wash that. And let's just get a bit of green going. It's quite a pale green, but we're not obsessing about colour corrections here. We're not bothered about the greens being exactly right. I'm just grabbing that bit of, what would you call that, sap green? Is it sap green or spring green, or just a nice bright lime green? Maybe a bit too lime. Maybe I'll just tone it down with a bit of that. But it's strong colour. Okay, so got three ingredients there standing by, and we're going to paint this quickly and spontaneously and energetically and loosely. So the first thing I'm going to go in with, and it's the basis of most organic matter, is a yellow. But by the way, there's a big highlight on the top there. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to leave a patch on the top there blank because there's a lovely shiny highlight there. And we mustn't forget the shadow as well. I haven't bothered drawing the shadow, but we are going to be coming back to that. Right, let's go in, wash the brush, dab it off. You know, don't go straight from your water into your colour because you're going to dilute your colour. So dab that off. And I'm going to soak up most of that yellow there into that brush. And I'm going to slap it down there, all of it, quickly. I'm leaving that highlight, but that yellow is coming down there like that. I'm going to quickly rinse that brush off, dry it off, and I'm going to hoover up that red there because I'm going to come in with this red now and do exactly the same thing. It's going to slap through the middle. I'm going to skirt round that stalk. Now look what's going on in here. It's already starting to migrate and do really exciting things. I'm going to dab that off. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just soak up a bit more of that. Now I want you to do this. This sounds crazy, but put a few splats on there as well, like that. Try it. It's liberating. And I'm going to go back into my green. I'm hoovering up that green. And I'm putting that green down here. Now look, when I've taken that green into the middle there, it's turned that red a really dark rust colour, and we want that rust colour going across there like that. And while we're at it, let's put a few splats on there as well. Do the splats. This is important because this loosens things up. Now, I'm going to put a shadow in here. It's a kind of a cooler shadow. It's even got a hint of purple or blue in it. So let's pull out a bit of blue. Let's maybe add a little bit of that yellow into there just to cool it down a little bit, or warm it up, sorry. And again, this is going in quickly underneath there. Just a quick slash of colour like that. I'm going to soften this edge. See how it comes out to a soft edge? We know how to do that. We wet our brush, we dry it off, we paint clear water away from the hard edge and then bring it up to meet that hard edge. And that hard edge will then kind of dive down into there. Right, dry your brush off. I want to get a bit more shadow in the middle of there. So I'm going to add some more green into that red. A nice, thick, strong green. I'm just going to slash that across the middle like that. And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm just going to see what happens there. Now, look what's happened there. Because we've been so crazy and fearless, we've thrown all kinds of stuff at that, and it's a beautiful, chaotic mess of colour. We want to maybe blend that a little bit. So I'm drying my brush off. And also, can you see the lights coming, hitting the white surface and illuminating the underside here a bit? We can take colour off with our brush as well as putting it on. So I'm just going to push this around a bit. I'm going to dry that off. I'm going to just maybe wipe across the inside of that. See what happens if I start playing with this a bit. I'm going to put a few more splash some clear water on there. See what that does. Soften off this edge around this highlight here. And you know what, because it's all a bit experimental and a bit chaotic, yeah, it's going to look strange. It's going to look odd. It's going to surprise you because this is not what you predicted, because it's accidental. We're leaving a lot to chance. We're leaving a lot of the creativity in the lap of the gods. But that is what I want to encourage today. We're just letting it happen. So that now is going to dry, and in the next 5 minutes, those colours and those pigments are going to integrate, they're going to do crazy things, and they're going to pleasantly surprise you. Before we go, I'm just going to darken off this cast shadow right underneath there. Use a bit of pigment, use a bit of that cooler blue maybe, and mix it with some of the reds. I'm spoilt for choice here. I've got a lot of colours. I shouldn't need them all, but I'm just making a dark tone. I'm just going right underneath in here, just dropping in a bit more pigment, just because that is where the light is struggling to get to, and that's going to slowly bleed out, leach out, and enhance that shadow. And that is the first mango painted in a loose, lively and stress-free method. Did we all splatter? I hope everybody had a splatter, because that's quite liberating. It's quite important, and a lot of people find it hard to do that. So I hope you all managed to sling a bit of paint at that in a fabulously random manner. Okay, let's have a look what else we've got. Let's hit the cherries. Pencil, another little contour drawing. Look how as the time goes by, it very often this will take 10-15 minutes to dry, and in that time, these colours will carry on migrating into each other, and they will do unpredictable things that you wouldn't be. Well, of course you can't possibly paint this behavior. This is it's just weird physics, but it's nice. It's what appeals to me about watercolor, really, because it's the stuff that you can't predict. Anyway, let's get a contour drawing down of these cherries. Again, just a single line, a single outline. Let's start at the top. Don't take your pencil off the paper. Just come down and let your eye trace the out. My eye's going down here, and my pencil, I'm kind of glancing between the two. I'm glancing between the pencil and my eye, but my eye's doing all the work. but it's just one single line. It's not a scratchy little collection of lines, it's just one line that's following the contour of this cherry. Just get these stalks in first. Okay. Right. His stalks are sitting in little concave indents in there. Look at that, a terrible drawing, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's enough to that's enough to be going on with. So what are we looking at here? We've got, again, there's probably yellow deep in here, underneath all this beautiful magenta and burgundy colour. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it doesn't matter. You know what a cherry looks like. And again, the colour's not that critical. So I'm going to start off with another batch of yummy yellow. Oh, I've got a purple on the go here. If you don't have a purple, let's make one. Grab your red, grab a red, any red, like so. Actually, there's red in here too, so I'm going to keep that red. But I'm also going to take some of that same red and just add a little bit of blue to it. So because I don't want to contaminate my paint, so I'm going to wash that brush. Let's just grab a bit of, what's that blue? That's a bit of cerulean blue, but look at that. That's just turned that straight down to that lovely cherry burgundy magenta thing. Bang on. Beautiful. So I've got a yellow, I've got a red, I've got a burgundy. Let's just paint these spheres, and that's what they are. They're spheres. The light's coming from the top. Big highlights on the top there. I don't know, shall we leave those white or shall we try and pull that paint off later? Let's see. I'm going to start off, try my brush. Let's just put a little daub of yellow in there because that's going to shine through. And splat, let's put a few splats on as well. So I've just got a base yellow there, dry my brush, and I'm going to come on with the cherry red. Beautiful. Quick splat, a bit more water. And you know, it really kind of activates it, really energizes the paper, doesn't it? It really energizes the surface, just a few random splats. It's almost like the physical, the physical action of doing that is recorded and you think, oh yeah, nice. Right, I'm going to get into, I'm into the burgundy here and I am edging around there with that. Probably go a bit bluer. Daubing this on, really, absolutely daubing it on. Bit more water. Right, I'm going in with clean water. Well, I say clean, it's water needs changing, but I'm just going to soften off that edge. I'm going to paint that highlight in there with clean water. So that's going to soften that. It's going to soften the edges, but it's going to leave it quite pale. Again, just using a clean wet brush just to put that highlight in across the top there. It's quite nice. Feel as though I need to put a bit more shadow and shade around the edges. Things are going nicely here. I've got a nice color combination of the glow, but I want to get more purpley. So let's go back to that. Let's do a bit of that ultramarine in there.
Martin, does it matter that the colours are running into each other?
On the contrary, that is what we're aiming for.
That's what we're aiming for.
Absolutely. No, this is because I'm trying to encourage that unpredictability and that chaos quality, because I think that is what, there's an untapped mine of beauty in there. So we're trying to get away from the controlled mark making. We're going down the opposite way. We are
free flowing.
We're free flowing. We are, yeah. That's absolutely right. This is where the fun is for me.
I must say the colours are absolutely beautiful. They're stunning.
Aren't they just? Aren't they just? This
Really?
is unlocking the hidden potential.
Yeah.
Really is. Right, I've got this lovely kind of dark value here. Just going to pop back to my mango, which is now dry, and I'm just going to put in that stem down there. Of course, we forgot about him. And a bit of yellow, maybe. Right, I'm going to dash in a few. These stems here, they look green, but if you look closely, they're mostly yellow. So I'm going to go back and get my yellow and make up a little bit of new yellow. Just dash those in. And while these are still wet, I'm going to quickly go and get my green, this dark green here, and add them into that yellow. Add that green into the yellow so that they blend. Got a woody bit at the top, just doing that. And again, I'm letting all this blend together. I'm doing it quickly and I'm doing it spontaneously. Excuse me. Right, a little shadow, I think. I'm going to go down to this dark value here. I'm going to cool it down with a bit of blue. Cool it and darken it. I'm just going to put these hints, just going to seep these cherries on a surface. By doing a little daub like so. And I'm letting the colours, the wet colours from the cherries run into this shadow. I'm going to clean that brush off, dab it, and just soften that. And this, you know, this is creating absolute beautiful chaos. And there are no mistakes. You can't get anything wrong. So just enjoy the mess. I mean, look, let me just show you what I've done there. If that comes into focus, look at the stuff that's going on in there. But at the same time, just look at the energy that's in there as well. Isn't that lovely?
Amazing.
Yeah. Right. I am just going to clean my water. If yours is as messy, as murky as mine, I suggest you do the same. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, avocados. Dare we try an avocado? It's a bit trickier this because we don't want this stone. This is quite a nice one. This is, I've not tried this one before. Yeah, pencil. Let's try an avocado. 2 avocado halves. So we're going to do again, just a nice, simple contour drawing. So I'm starting at the top here. Can you see? Not taking my pencil off the page, and I'm just tracing the contour of this. This is where I'm going. You don't have to follow this road, but it seems like the most obvious one for me. Don't overthink it. Just keep glancing backwards and forwards between your subject and your pencil. I'm going around the inside of this skin, around the top, round the back, along the edge top there, and finishing like that. Now I'm going to do the outside, the exterior of this avo down there. So that comes down like that. You get away with murder. It's a lovely, forgiving, crinkly skin, crinkly edge. So that's coming round there like that. That's a bit clumsy, but never mind. Let's get the stone in. Just nice, simple contour lines. All right, no shading, no value. There's a shadow in there that I can suggest, but I know that. Let's try and do this other half, which is lying, which has fallen over a little bit. So it's pretty much the same shape, just a little bit flatter. Let's try taking it down here. Just scooting around the inside. We might have to come back and do this painting in 2 hits because there are a lot of hard-edged shapes in there, and we can only achieve hard-edged shapes when it's dry. So we'll go in and we'll do the first pass, we'll get the basic colours in, and then we'll come back and do the second pass by getting the hard-edged shapes in. Right, coming down here to put this exterior in. And then the hole. Okay, there we have it. Right, let's mix up this kind of avocado yellow. I'd say that's pretty. I'm going to go in with just a pure yellow, and then I'm just going to look how this green just oozes in from the edge. Let's see if we can achieve that by allowing, because what we're doing here, we've allowed this chaos, but we are exercising a little bit of control over the chaos. And I'm going to try and get that dark green to migrate into this yellow. So make up a nice amount of avocado yellow. And then, standing by, let's make up a green. These greens, I've got these Sennelier paints have awful greens in them. They're really nasty greens. That's not a colour that you find anywhere in nature. It's just too blue and acidic. So I always just take a little bit of this lovely kind of chromium yellow and add that. And that just brings it back into the natural world. That's much better. All right, this is going to be a voyage of discovery. Let's get this avocado yellow flesh colour in. Standing by with a bit of tissue. Wash and dab, dry that off, and let's soak up there. I'm going to do the whole lot. I might not do that stone, that needs to be different, but certainly where the hole is there, that's just going to get the whole treatment like so. Right, I want to move quickly because I want the colour to leach into this while it's still wet, so I'm putting plenty on. And this too. Up a few splashes as well. Don't forget to energize it with a few dashes of colour. Right, clean the brush, dab it off into the green. And I'm going to put in this edge here, but I'm allowing it to touch. And I'm going around here as well, just going to hit around there, because over the next couple of minutes, that is going to bleed in. Yeah, quickly and randomly I'm doing this. I'm doing it without much regard for keeping inside the lines even, but I'm allowing that green to just touch the yellow. Right, that green needs to go much, much darker. So into my already green, I'm going to add a bit of its complementary colour, which is red. A nice dark, cool red, and this is going to send this right down to blackness. Look at that. Oof. It's gone almost purple. And then, of course, some avocado skins are purple, aren't they? In fact, there's an element of purple in a lot of them. So I'm just going to go in there with a slash of purple. That was just green and red. Green and its complementary red. They've neutralized each other. And that has gone very avocado. Just dabbing that brush off, I'm just titivating around here just to get a bit of action. I want to tackle this stone. This stone is going to bring a bit of welcome warmth to this, because this is quite cool. So I'm coming in with, what have we got here? This is a purple. I don't know, I think that's from our cherry we did earlier. Let's warm it up. Let's put a bit of red in there, which turns it back into a plum colour. I want to brown it up a bit, so that needs warming up with some yellow. Now we're coming towards a kind of avocado stone colour. Probably a bit too light. Nice. Okay. You can see this is approaching this. It probably needs a bit more yellow. You can see, if you just use your eyes, that needs a bit more yellow. This needs a bit more yellow to turn it into that. So let's grab a bit of yellow. There we go. Look, that's really pushed it towards this stone colour. Let's give it a, let's daub a bit of that in. There's a highlight there. So I'm going to leave that highlight unpainted. Look at that. Beautiful. Just going to soften that highlight edge. It's a bit too hard, so I'm wetting my brush, drying it off, and I'm just kind of painting around that edge just to soften it. And look at that. That's kind of done the trick, hasn't it? Shadow. Nice bluey shadows in here. So let's give that, let's ground these two avocados by putting them on a surface. Bit of blue, bit of, you know, too blue, so we want to neutralize that blue with its complementary color, which of course is orange. Orange is kind of yellow and red, isn't it? So if I add the yellow, it's going to go green. So we know that we need to add the red to turn it back to a neutral again. And there you go, like that. Let's just get some shadows going on in here. Really quick and random. Soften those edges off. Splat it. And that is looking really lively. I've got a bit of an incident happening here. I've actually, I didn't mention it, I've got my board at a bit of an angle as well, because I find that it helps sometimes when you're using copious amounts of water like this to just let the water come down and find a natural level instead of it just sitting flat in puddles, which causes your paper to cockle. If you have your board at a slight angle, it's just about, I don't know, 10 degrees. I've just got a kind of brick-sized piece of wood under here. But it's causing the water to migrate. I'm just going to drink this up. I don't actually mind little happy accidents like this. It's kind of nice. It kind of invigorates the whole thing. It's all part of the adventure. Just putting a bit more shadow in there. A few splats. Keep splatting, everybody. Just if you find yourself getting a little bit too tense and tight, then thinking, can't keep this to control, just go like that, and then just relinquish control and let the laws of nature take over. Right, let's have a look at this thing here. I think this is dry enough now to be able to achieve some of these hard edges. So what we've got the yellow. You need to just darken it down. Let's go back to our yellow and let's add some of this, which was our shadow color, to the yellow. Okay, so what happens if we just put that across there like that and bring it down to here? It's not quite dark enough. But what's happening is there's light hitting this side of this bowl and there's light hitting this side of this bowl, and then in the middle it's dark. So all we're doing is we're just trying to recreate that. I started off quite washy, but now I've pre-wet this, so I know that all the paint marks that I'm making here are going to be soft edged, which is nice. So let's make so let's just grab this. Where was this? This was our stone color. It's too yellow, isn't it? We want to cool it down. We want to green it up. We want to bring it back in line with this avocado. There, look, a little bit of green in there, and we're already coming back into this zone here. A bit of that purple makes it darker. Maybe a bit more green, just to take it back down here. Now I'm starting to get, oh, hang on, sorry everybody. Starting to get this nice avocado shadow now. And I'm just dropping this in. I'm just charging. See, I'm not painting with it. I'm just delivering it I'm dabbing it in there. Getting a bit uptight, so I thought I'd better dash it. I'm seeing bits of yellow in there as well, so I'm just going to go in with a bit of yellow. It's made a bit of a mess, so I'm going to try and tidy up those edges with a dry brush. I'm going to leave that. That's just going to sit there. That's going to mature. But look, that's a really nice, quickly dashed off pair of avos. Particularly pleased with this stone. That's really got a life of its own. So if I bring this up, you can just see how random and clumsy and dashed that is. But look at the life and the energy that it's got. It's rather nice, isn't it? Okay. How are we getting on? Talk to me, somebody. Are we all on the same page here? Are we splashing? Are we loosening up? And are we finding a new freedom? Jill, what's going on over there? Talk to me.
I can't say the splashing is working for me.
Now, come on, Sarah, let's investigate this. What's going on?
Just time, really. You say
Yeah.
splash and I think, I'm still mixing that colour.
Oh, I see. Oh, am I rushing everybody? Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just you. For me, you're so much quicker at knowing how to get the colour you want.
Oh, right. Yes, I'm with you. Yeah.
Whereas I'm still thinking, oh God, what's that?
Yeah.
So I just find I don't get round to doing it as often as I should, but I like it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of music going on.
I do dash through the colours, it's true, but maybe we shouldn't get too hung up on the colour either, because yeah,
Seems to be their colours are bleeding into each other, but sometimes it works and sometimes you think, oh, it's not quite right.
Yeah.
So it's knowing when to not put a colour next to each other if they're both still wet, and then you get that wash, don't you? But sometimes it looks nice. God, I'm not scared of it.
I think so. I think it's very easy to be scared of it, and I don't think you need be. I think it's I think if you just, well, the bleeding thing is how can I explain? I think you just, well, we're going to do the rose in a second, and that is going to be carnage. There's going to be colours bleeding everywhere. It's going to drive you all mad, but you're going to come away with it, and you're going to let it dry, and you're going to think, actually, now that that's dried, I love the fact that that colour's gone bonkers over there, and I love the fact that that's doing this. And if you look at these, there's some crazy things here that I wouldn't have planned. I wouldn't have got that pale patch there, and I wouldn't have wanted that to bleed down there. But in some respects, it's given it a little energy all of its own. You know, we're not trying to recreate photographically what we've got there. You know, there's no joy in that. I think it's much more rewarding to slightly be able to control the chaos. It's a kind of sweet spot between control and panic, isn't it? What's going on here?
Martin, how do you get the stone to look rounder?
That is
curve with the paint, because obviously we've done it with the cross hatching before, but with the paint,
it's the same principle. All it is with anything that's three-dimensional, it's three-dimensional because you're describing in either paint or in cross hatching, you're describing the way that the light's falling over it. So all I've done here is describe the way that the light's coming from down there. It's creating a highlight there, which is there. And it's darker down here because this is in shade. Okay. So all I've done is put those values in, the darker value down there in the shadow, the lighter value in the highlight, and a gradual transition between the two. But I read that the paint did most of the work for me there. Okay. And when that happens, it's a lovely thing because that's really quite convincing, isn't it? That looks more like an avocado stone than that does. I don't know why. It's a lovely thing, and you know, and you look at it closely, and you see that it's just that if that comes into focus.
Yeah, that's better.
Hang on. It's just different values in paint. It's just paint. It's a value thing, and that's what's more important than. Oh, come on, camera. The value is more important than the color. Yeah. You know, that could have been blue. It would still have looked like a spherical stone if it had been blue, so long as it was dark there and light there. So all we're doing, we're just creating the illusion of form, aren't we? Right, we're going to tackle that rose in a second. Before we do that, let's just dash off it. Obviously, still got a space down there. Let's do a quick leaf. Let's just dash off a leaf because we're going to be doing the leaves in a second on here. So let's just, I don't know, grab a leaf, any leaf. Draw a leaf shape. In fact, let's have a look at this. This is a good idea. Let's take this leaf here. Let's have a look at this guy here. And let's just quickly do a contour drawing of that rose leaf because we're going to be coming to him in a second. Let's just do that. A quick outline. So, as I say, most of this organic matter underneath it all, in terms of colour, there's generally speaking, there's usually a yellow. A yellow is a good place to start. It kind of underpins nearly all the natural world. And of course, you start light and you go dark. So yellow's pretty much a safe bet as your first daub of colour. And I think this, you can't really see clearly, but this leaf looks as though it's got a bit of blight or something. There's some yellow speckles all the way around, and then the green just comes down on the top. So anyway, I've got some yellow. Let's prep a little bit of green. It's quite a nice, it's quite a khaki green, isn't it? A rose leaf green. So I've come in there with, look, I've got my nasty green again. Look how blue that is. That's really rotten, that green. So I'm gonna really quite yellow that up and take that. Can you see that, or is that a bit shiny? Is it? So I've got my yellow. That is quite a mid green. So I need to go darker than that. But I can see if I wanted to neutralize that, obviously I'd use red. I'd add red. Let's see what happens. That's I want a dark green. I want a dark value. So I've got my light value, my mid value. I'm making a dark value. That's my nasty green again. I'm going to add some red to that. See where it takes it. Takes it down the purple road. Well, that's okay. Because when that mixes with that, it's going to do some interesting things. Okay, I'm sorry if I've been rushing you. I'm going to take this a little bit easier now. I was getting a bit excitable.
Fine.
Right, we have got a few bits of colour there. Dry my brush off. Now look at this leaf here. The light's coming over here. This is highlighting the right-hand side. That's the shiny side. Mike, we're going to ignore the droplet. Forget the droplet. It's too complicated. We're just going to go straight in with the yellow. And I'm going to put a splash of yellow pretty much all over this because this is going to form the basis of what comes after. So this is my leaf, look, pretty random, just straight in with a daub of yellow. And then dry that off, dab that off. Let's come in with this green. And look.
You say that the yellow is a good technique to do?
Yeah, it's a good starter.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't forget to splat. Let's get some splats going on there. So now look, I've got my yellow and I've got my green, and that's starting to do its thing. Those are starting to mingle. I need to go much darker. So here's my green that I made earlier. Let's start to put some of this in, and I'm daubing it Now, what's nice to do on a leaf with veins, use a sharpened stick. I always sharpen the end of my paintbrush, and we can put some veins in there by just drawing down there with a I'm drawing a little, scratching a valley into a leaf like that. That's going to create an indentation, and the paint's going to fall into there, and it's going to it's going to fall in there. It's going to mark. It's going to make a nice. You couldn't paint a line that fine, so you're better off if you scratch it. Scratch it and create a different quality mark. Now, this is starting to do some nice stuff, but it's also a little bit pale. So I'm just going to come in here and warm it up. I'm going to drop in some more interesting colours.
I think it does do that.
I know that just by dashing in a few speckles, that is starting to slowly. Now I've splattered a few bits of yellow on top of this leaf here, and it's creating some rather nice organic patterns. Like if I hold that up, but I've thrown the kitchen sink at that, if it comes into focus, but look, the bits of splats of yellow, you can see the marks that I've scratched on there. And you can see the different bits of colour that I've thrown at it, and I haven't been too careful either. I've just let it do its own thing. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do this whole flower with this degree of freedom and liberation. Can you imagine? So while we're finishing that, I'm just going to clean my water. Because if we start with a lovely pink bloom, you're not going to get very far with pond water like this. Right, while everyone's off cleaning their waters, hang on. Sarah, how are you getting on? Because those pictures you sent me were lovely, but there was a complete absence of liquid visibility on in those paintings. And I thought this would probably, I think this is the key to opening up your style.
Yes. Yes, I think you're right. I think because I was following you on YouTube rather than being there, I probably was a bit cautious. But definitely on the Durdle door, I wasn't happy with the sky. So I'm
No.
going to do a lot of splashing
Yes.
after
Yes,
today
I
because
think
I've
so.
got everything out. So
You got your plastic tablecloth down.
Yeah, and I've got my bib on and everything.
Good.
So yeah, I'll be fine. But no, I love what we've done today. I think it's
Good.
It's amazing. I'm delighted. My mango isn't great, but I think
Hey, it doesn't matter. Well, you're going to be coming up with some unpredictable results. It's inevitable because we're leaving it in the lap of the gods. We're allowing a lot of chance to happen. But I think gradually you'll start to be able to control that chaos.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, I think that's when you can really start to enjoy yourself.
I bought myself some expensive brushes as well, Martin. You'd be pleased to know.
I'm delighted. What sort did you get?
I got what you suggested, the black velvet.
Oh.
I got a little pack of 3 from Amazon. I've got posh paper.
Oh,
now all
come
I
on.
need is a bit of talent.
You don't need talent. It's a myth. You don't need talent to do this. You
Okay.
just need a little bit of practice.
Okay.
Are you using your posh brushes?
I am.
Good.
I just got a thick one, a thin one, but I'm tending to use the medium one.
So am I. So am I. I use it all the time. Is it this one?
Yeah. 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 And it does what I need it to do. You know, it's because I didn't have control with the others. They were all a bit cheap and nasty anyway.
No, you can't blame your brush if you've got one of these, Sarah.
I will.
You can't. You're not allowed. You cannot blame your tools. So, I mean, just to recap, let's look what we've done. We have created some really nice marks here. And I think, you know, this has been successful, the way that stuff's happened in here. That's rather nice, the way that stuff's happened in there. My avocado stone is a triumph. I'm pleased with that. But look, this leaf's really nice as well. Just look at the degree and the quality of the stuff that's going on in here. And this was done in seconds. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to recreate this degree of spontaneity in here. We're going to do the whole page. We're going to do the whole painting because we're running out of time as well. And that's a good thing. We've got an hour to smash this. So let's start by doing a contour drawing of this. Don't feel intimidated because what we need to do to start off with, just squeeze in here, get to there. Right. If you start to try and trace the whole outline in one hit, you're going to either finish here or finish here. So it's no crime just to do a few little scaffolding marks to get yourself started off. So I'm just going to do a center line straight down the middle. And I'm going to say, okay, the bottom of my jar is going to be there. And then I'll look at that and think, okay, well, that is about 2/3 of the way up. That's about 1/3. So you don't have to stick to these proportions. I'm going to make my bloom a little bit bigger, I think. So I might say, okay, I'm going to make my rose this big. I mean, I don't want to do these marks too heavily because I don't really want them to show through too much. I'll make them a little bit heavier than I should so that you can see them. My bloom there is a sphere, so that is going to be there. The top of my jar is going to be there, and the bottom is going to be there. So these are just scaffolding marks to let me know where stuff is at the moment. When I've got things in the right place, then we're going to go in and we're going to do a nice contour drawing. But just get everything in the right place to start off with. My jar is. Right. That's where I am. That's what I've got. Have you kind of got something similar to that? Because when you've got that and you're happy that things are in the right place, then we can start to work in that contour drawing. And we'll take your time with this. There's no rush. I'm not going to try and draw the details inside this rose. I'm just going to go around the outside. And I'm just trying to convey some of the kind of frilly qualities of the edge of these petals as well. Just one single line. So look, my original scaffolding lines were sketchy and light. Now my contour drawing is just a confident single line. And my eyes just tracing around the outside. And my pencil's following my eye. Can be quite liberating to just draw an outline as well, because a lot of people, you know, it can be a leap of faith just to draw one single line instead of sketching 5 or 6 tentative, indecisive lines. So this is a nice thing to do. I'm catching the edge of that, getting that serrated edge down there. That's quite a distinctive rose feature. This is a bit like the carrot class we did on Tuesday. We're just suggesting a few of the features that make up the qualities of these leaves. And then we're going to blast in with blocks of colour. And the two together, they kind of meld into a very readable description of what it is you're trying to describe. There's some very nice carrots, by the way. Thank you. Now, when you get to the jar, when you get to this bottle, the glass bottle, don't just draw the silhouette. Look at the shapes inside. Because in painting and drawing, the shapes and the shadows are just as important as the outline. In fact, very often there is no outline. So you're going to have to really use your eyes as well when we draw this. And another thing as well, the colour, if I forget to mention this later, the colour of the glass isn't that kind of grey glass colour that everybody automatically thinks is the colour of glass. It's the colour of whatever you're seeing through it. we doing? 5 more minutes. Now, as you can see, I've modified my drawing to suit. My bloom is far bigger than the bloom in the picture. I've shrunk my bottle down, and yeah, I've made the rose far more of a focal point than it is in here. Absolutely no problem with that at all. You can make a painting do whatever you want it to. I'm just going to gently pull out a few of these scaffolding lines. And I'm also lifting out some of these contour lines as well. They're just there as a guide for the painting. They're not contributing as too much to the finished thing. So it really doesn't matter if they disappear or they fade off. How are we getting on? Has everybody just about got to this stage. Does anybody need another minute or two, or shall we press on? We'll press on then.
I'm ready.
Good. I'm going to have a little bit of a practice on the back of here. I'm going to practice this rose. Now, what we did, I don't know if anybody can remember when we used to do the classes in Lunds. We had a little session on roses, and we did them in a very kind of abstract, random way. This is going to be a bit more chaotic and a bit more... Control's not the right way to describe it. But what we're trying to do is we're going to try and make something look like this, but we're going to do it with the spontaneity of this. So this is a little test run. You can follow along if you want, or you can just watch, because this is a bit of an experiment myself. I'll try and just clean this up a bit, because this is quite a delicate pink, so you don't want to be contaminating your colours with what was there previously. So find yourself a little spot of cleanliness. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to randomly pre-wet just a few portions of this, because I want my edges to be a combination of hard and soft. So I'm just going to quickly do a few C-shaped clear water brush strokes. When I give it some of that as well, we're going to dash it down. I'm spotting it with clean water. But so some of this is now wet, but some of it is still dry. It's very difficult for me to show you that, but if I kind of catch that in the light, you see there's bits of it are wet and bits of it are dry. And that is already a bit of a rose shape. Can you see that? There, look. So it's experimental. Let me just flag that up at the moment. This is kind of playing. This is experimenting. So let's try and get a pale pink. I think I'm going to go into my colours and maybe grab a bit of that and use a very, very dilute red to try and get to that pink. There's also yellow in there, so I've got some yellow standing by. But this is going to be a very, very pale value to start off with. So when I say pale value, I mean very dilute. So here I go with my pink, a very, very pale red. I'm just going to maybe do a few slashes like this. Right. And also, so that's already starting to do some interesting things. You see, where the paper was dry, that's giving me a hard edge. Where the paper was wet, that's giving me a soft edge. So I'm getting a combination of soft and hard edges. A bit of yellow goes a long way. So I'm just going to maybe hint a little bit of yellow in there as well. Now, I'm going to start to tease these around with the other of my brush. I'm kind of feeling my way here. Just go in with a bit more strong colour. So now you see I'm just dashing in with that. And look, when I'm touching it in, it's hitting the wet portions and blooming out. But where it's dry, see, I'm letting it kind of do its own thing. Roses tend to get a little darker into the center, so I'm going in with a stronger mix, and I'm just putting in a few bits like that. And that is kind of where I'm going to be leaving that for the time being. I'm going to keep splatting, because that, if you feel yourself getting a little bit tense and oh, that's not going quite right, throw a bit of water at it and see what happens. So that, you know, I'm quite happy with that as my little test bed, my little practice piece. I'm going to leave that for a while. That's going to sit and mature and do its own thing for the next 10 minutes. Just comparing those two, I'm just wondering whether or not this is the right red. Maybe I should be coming down to a more cooler red for a better pink. So this is the time to just try out. That is a closer pink, I think, to that, isn't it? I mean, yeah. So maybe when I come to do my finished one, I'll come down here and use a cooler red. See, that's the difference. That was my first red, and that's where I am now. I'm exploring this red, and it's kind of a... It's almost got a more accurate tonal value, but then again, we can always mix the two. But what is nice is this combination of hard edge and soft edge. You see, so that is where the paper was dry, gives me a hard edge, and where the paper's wet, it blends into this lovely soft edge thing there. Anyway, enough playing around, let's dive in. I'm starting off with this bloom because I don't want to contaminate it with greens and browns and whatever. So I think it's nice to get this down first. So I'm starting off. You know what? Let's do a bit of that. Let's get that thing moving. It's just clean water at the moment, and then with I'm putting some C-shaped strokes in. I'm just kind of getting the vibe of the bloom, and I'm just getting a few. Don't want to drown the paper. Just going to get a few clean water marks on there. That's all I've done there. I've not got puddles or anything like that. I've just got, can you see that there? If I just catch it in the light, just a little bit of moisture on there, just to soften off the paint that I'm about to throw at it. Okay, let's do it. Fearless. Very, very, very pale, watery mix to start off with, because we're going for the lightest of tones. And I'm going in with a few swoopy marks like so. And don't forget to splatter. Let's get some splatter. Let's activate this paper now. Let's really bring this to life. So that's where I've gone in with that, and I'm going to build that up gradually. That's all I've got so far. I'm going to go in with a slightly stronger mix. Don't forget to splat. Okay. Oh, and make a little bit of yellow. For some reason, really activates her, brings it alive. Don't forget to keep splatting as well. So that's kind of where that. It's a mess. It's a beautiful mess, but I like it. Now, while that's still wet, I'm going in with a slightly stronger mix, and I'm just going to start to pick out a few little center bits like this. So I've just dashed in there, and I'm doing little C-shaped, kind of toenail-shaped strokes, just to try and imitate the nature of the curls of the petals. Now also, while it's still wet, you can always lift off I'm just looking down here and I'm thinking, okay, well, that's kind of nice, but it's a bit flat maybe around the top there. So I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to just dry it off like this. And then I'm just going to lift off a little bit of color just to create a highlight along here. So watch this. Dried that, it's clean water, dried it off. I'm just going to do that. See, and that, carrying on those contours, following the shape of everything, I'm just lifting off. Now I'm going to leave that now. That's going to sit there and that's going to do its thing for a bit. And splat it. I'm going to move on to some leaves. Right, where's our leaf? Because I think that's a nice benchmark for the freedom and the looseness that I think we want to try and get for the rest of this. So I am going to be making, I'm going to make a bit of yellow go, we're going to get some yellow going because there's quite a lot of leafage to cover. Right, we've got half an hour, so we've got a fly here as well. This is good because this is going to make us move quickly. Let's have some yellow going. And get yourself some green. So what we did here, we had three kind of tones. We had a yellow for the light value, we had a mid green for the mid value, and then we had a darker green. And that's nice to work with. It's nice to have three values to work with, because you can get your highlight, get your light value down, which is your yellow, dive in with the mid-tone green, and then throw in the darker values to create the shadow areas and the shade. And you can modify the strength of your greens by adding blue to make it colder and adding the complementary color to make it darker. So if you've got a green like this and you want to darken it down, add some blue and then maybe add some red, maybe a little bit of yellow. Just keep throwing colors at it until you get to the shade you want. Okay, are we ready? Now this time I'm going to go in onto dry paper. So I'm not going to bother with pre-wetting it because I don't really want that soft edge, hard edge thing going on here quite as much as I did with the bloom. But I am going to start off with my lighter colors. You remember we went in there with the pale yellow just to start off with. Let's do one leaf at a time as well. So wash my brush, dry it off. Let's start with the leaf that we're familiar with, because these leaves over here, these are in shadow. These are hidden from the light by the rose. They're much darker. So we'll come and we'll tackle those later. These are in the light. These are much yellower. These are much bluer. These are much lighter. These are much darker. So let's do these light ones first. And remember how loose and lively we're going to be as well. Right, in with the yellow. A nice kind of liquid yellow mix, because let's just get down there. Just one big slash of yellow like that, and a few splats. Give that a bit of a wash, and in with this green. This green is coming like actually, I'm going to do a couple of, let's get a couple, because we don't have time to take too much trouble over this. Let's Let's get these in. Look how quickly I'm just dashing that yellow in there and giving it a splat. Let's come in with the green. Okay, right, and now my darker green. I've got my two value, I've got my light value and my mid value. Let's look where the dark stuff is. This is dark down this side. That's a dark. I'm just dashing that in there. Splat it. So I've got three values in there. They're all now mingling and doing their thing. And it's chaos, it's carnage. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to scratch some veins in. Going in with the sharp end of this. You can use your credit card and get the credit card out and just do that. But that is already starting to look nice. So there's you can see the spontaneity that's happening in there. It's all quick and it's nice and it's lively. It's loose. We're loosening up. Right, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to do that little bit of foliage around the back and inside and underneath here and address this stem. Let's get this stem going as well. So, still going in with my yellow first. I'm coming in the back, coming in around the back down there, and there's a leaf in there, sort of. And while I've got yellow in my brush, I can just dab in here and just spot in a little bit more yellow into this leaf, just to create more variety. So here we go. I'm just working through these different colours that I've got, just plopping them down like that. And also this stem under the water, it's yellow, it's kind of green as well. And then my want a brown, get a bit of brown in this stem. So I'm going to take a bit of my green and I'm going to red it up. Straight out the pan there. Just a little bit of red into that green there. Okay. Right, so this is where I am. These are really nice here. What I might do is just put a bit more I'm going to dry my brush off and just create that highlight in that leaf there, just by lifting a bit of that off. Maybe lifting a bit of this off here and there. Nice. Right. I'm going to tackle these darker leaves here. And I'm going to use negative space. You know, I'm going to try and carve out the edge of this petal with the dark green leaf shape there. So I'm in with my green. We've got to be quick here. We don't have an awful lot of time. So there, that's a nice green to be going in with there. And then, because this is in shadow here, I'm going to dive in with this lovely kind of unctuous dark green here, which I want to be even darker because it's practically black. So I'm going to put a touch of red in this dark green to send it dark. So some of that into there is really going to make that a beautiful kind of ivy green. And as I said, I'm trying to describe the edge of this petal by painting negatively around it. So that petal is actually becoming the edge of this leaf. Four. Maybe scratch a little bit of detail into here. The edge of this rose is a bit raggy for my liking, so I'm going to soften that. That's better. Okay. Now, I'm going to put a bit of background in, but I think my rose is looking a bit pasty. So this is now dry. So I'm going to go over this and reglaze it a little bit with some more red. Do you know what? I'm going to change my water first, because if I start to paint pink with that, I'm going to come a cropper. Be back in a minute. Okay. Clean water. I'm just going to spatter that a little bit, activate little portions of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some little C-shaped crescent brush strokes in here to try and suggest the detail in the center. So this is the earlier one we did. So what I'm going to be doing is putting some little marks like that. And using the brush to make this kind of mark. So if you get your brush, start off lightly, press down, and then lift off. And try and create a crescent like that, because that is indicative of the nature of the shaded areas as the petals fold into each other. So let me show you that again. Just start off with a brush, just touch the tip, press down so the brush bellies out, and then lift off again. And try, if we can get a few of those around here, that's really going to start to get this rose taking shape. Just a few little suggestions like that. Look, and it already starts to take on the life of a rose. Just a few crescent-shaped brush marks. Ah, maybe a bit more like a carnation than a rose, but hey. Turn. A red. A few C shapes. See what happens. Not quite strong enough. Just giving it something. All right. That's looking rather nice as it is, but we do need to get something happening down here in the bottle. So let us, now we don't have to fill in the whole background. We do need to suggest some kind of form down here. So let's make up our kind of neutral color. what I did, this was shot on a, oops, what's on there? This was a sheet of wrapping paper. So I'm going to make up, it's quite a murky colour. It's not a particularly flattering colour either. So I'm just wondering how I want to do this. Do I want to create? Or shall we just throw caution to the wind and change the colour of the background completely? Shall we create a complementary colour? Yes, we can. Because this is a lesson about doing what you want. So I'm just experimenting here with a different colour background. So that is our kind of khaki representative of that colour. Actually, it's probably a bit more like that, isn't it? Let's have a vote. What do we think? What about the what colour shall we do? Do we like the blue, which makes the pink ping a bit more? Or do we like this kind of wrapping paper?
The blue.
Do we like the blue? Okay. Or shall we do both? Or shall we just kind of make it all
I've been
mingle?
talking to you with my mute on.
Oh
so
no! For how long? What? All morning?
Probably.
All right then, Karen. What colour? What shall we do?
I don't think the blue. I think the other colour, the more neutral.
Dirge.
Okay.
Dirge.
Sorry, what? The dirge colour?
Yeah, I quite like the dirgy colour.
Dirgy. Okay, well, let's go with the dirgy then. Although we're going to put a few of these hints of blue in as well, because, you know, let's bring it alive.
Yeah.
Let's bring it alive. All right, so let's go dirgy. Do you know how to make a dirge?
Make some sort of dirge.
Yeah, well, get some yellow going. And if you feel like your yellow's getting a little bit hot, put some blue in it. If it feels as though it's going a bit green, put some red in it. So it's this continuous kind of balance of complementary colours. You know, you're bouncing from one to the other. This is really nice. I mean, look how nice this is, because it's so liquid. It's just, there's so much water. It's looking really watery, but it's looking lovely as well. And this is that quality that you get with watercolour that you don't get if you just draw with a dry brush. This is what I want to try. Look at those blends of colour that you get in here. And also we're going to delineate, we're going to describe the outside edge of that rose negatively, like we did with the leaves, remember?
Yeah.
Right, let's dive in. I'm going in. We've got, what is it now? We've got about 5 or 10 minutes to do this. So I'm not going to go right to the edge of my paper. I'm going to just describe the outside edge of this rose like so. And I'm using plenty of liquid. You know, I don't want it too dark, so I'm coming in here with just clean water. I'm painting with clean water here. And you know what? I'm going to put a bit of that blue in there just to make it different. So this, you know, I'm experimenting here because we've tried different colours. We go in dirgy, but I'm putting a few drops of blue in my dirge to see where it takes it. And look, that blue is really rather lovely, isn't it? Sitting in the middle of that, sitting in the middle of that brown, it's just giving it a little bit of oomph. So just coming down here, because I want to get down to the bottle here. I think we've got to address this bottle. We've got to give this bottle some form. So I'm just working the dirge down here. I've touched the leaf there and the leaf was still wet. So that colour has now exploded into the background, which is lovely. That's all right. I don't mind that. I'm happy with that. A bit more blue in that top corner, I think. Right, now look here. This is interesting, the way that this bottle full of water refracts the light. So what's happening here is the light's coming through here. It's kind of lighting up. I don't know the optics involved, but it's that side's lighter than the background. That side's darker than the background. And that visual information, oops, that visual information describes a bottle full of water. And we got to get that down. We've got to recreate that. So I'm going to get that edge down there in, because it's important visual information. That needs to be darker than that. In fact, I'm going to really kind of pump that up a bit. I'm going to use that blue. So that's turned out to be a really rather nice combination of colours. And then here, inside here is darker than outside. So that's what I'm going to paint. I'm going to paint in here now. I'm going to make that darker. So I'm just going to come in there. Because it's a soft transition from this dark side to the light side. It's not just a hard edge, so I've got to make that soft edge transition. So dip, dab, and soften with clean water. And it's a case of, look down the bottom, down the edge of the neck of the bottle there. That's darker inside than it is outside. So we need to describe that as well. But it's only down as far as the level of the water. Isn't that fascinating? Now look, just by making that like that has started to work, hasn't it? Don't want to put too much tone in here because that's going to affect this kind of interface here. So I'm painting this with clean water, and I might just drop a little bit of my dirgy colour in there. I didn't have enough dirge. So now what I'm doing now is I'm going back into my previous colours and I'm kind of using what I got to create secondary colours and tertiary colours. I'm using these previous colours to create my shadows. And what that does, it just means that the colours that I'm now using are still linked to everything that's been going on previously. So there is a harmony in there. So just putting a little bit of shadow in there, I've just used what was lying around in here. So that's kind of all right. And also now the stuff that I was doing earlier is starting to dry off. So I can start to, if I want to bring these values down even further, I can glaze over with my colors over the dry colors, and that's going to increase the value as well. So if I want to kind of bring these leaves, that's a bit scrappy, that edge around there. So I'm going to take that right down. I'm going to grab that blue. I'm going to darken it even further with some of that. That's gone a bit red, so I need to green it up. It's a really nice, strong dark. I can come in here and I can really darken things down in here. And that's going to throw that rose forward. And also underneath here, this is very dark underneath this flower. This needs taking down. Need to get some darker values in there. See, that's nice. I don't want this hard edge here, so I'm going to soften that. I'm going to rinse off, dry off, and just, you know, bring the old damp brush up to that hard edge, and that'll soften that. There's a few dark patches under here that would benefit from a little dash like that. And I'm tempted to go and fiddle with my rose again. I think the glass of the bottle works well. I'm not going to bother, actually I might bother putting a little bit of tone along there. But that's not far off. That looks glassy enough to me. What I need to do is maybe put a bit more form in this rose. But now we're entering the realms of fiddling. This is very dangerous. We've had a nice, loose and lively, free and liberating session. And we've achieved some great stuff. I mean, there's some lovely things going on in here. The blues and the yellows look lovely. And there's some weird pink stuff going on here. So I think if I now manage to get a bit more form in that rose, which is actually, to me, looking a bit flat. Now, if I wanted to try and get some form in it, I need to make it look more spherical. So assuming that the light is coming from the top left, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try and put a bit more form underneath. So I'm going to be doing stuff like, is that going to mess it up? I don't know. Let's see. Fiddling now. How are we getting on, everybody? We've overshot a little bit. I have to draw it to a close here. I'm going to fiddle with this for a bit. What have we found? What have we discovered today?
It's been quite a freedom, really.
Good. Yeah, has it been a bit liberating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Good. I mean, it's a practice thing. It will look chaotic, but you will get the hang of this and you will suddenly realize that you've got more control than you realized. And sorry?
I loved it.
Good.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a rose at
Ha,
all.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, if this is a you know, you're not going to turn out a masterpiece on your learning curve, are you?
No. Right, I think I'm done.
I think I'm done as well. I'm going to say thank you for being here, everybody. I hope you've learnt something.
Yes, I've enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
Great, Mark.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
that's been a pleasure. So, hang on, let me just sort myself out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite nice. Quite nice. It's good. It's good to splash around and loosen up because you can get very restricted and very tense and very tight. Just have a splash and it'll all make sense and it'll all come to life. So thank you for being here, everybody.
Thank
Send
you.
us
Thanks, Martin.
Thanks,
send me your
Mark.
results. I'd love to see them. I'll not share them with anyone. It's all
not
confidential. It's
today.
not compulsory, but no, send them if you feel like it, and I might be able to give you a few pointers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Failing that, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Martin.
right, see you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.